Welcome to the Doctors Warren podcast, where our goal is to educate, empower, and equip you with the health and wellness knowledge to take your wellness to a whole nother level. We're going to use ancestral wisdom, clinical research, and over 25 years combined of clinical experience to bring you an all-in-one place to learn how to take your health to the next level. So welcome. I'm super excited you're here. Let's dive in.
All right, we are back.
Welcome back, welcome back, welcome back.
All right, guys.
That was good.
That was really good.
Thanks.
I mean, don't quit your day job, but that was kind of a nice...
No, I wonder how people feel at church. I guess it's good that our church's music is a little bit louder, so they can't hear me and you sing.
What do you mean, you and me?
Just me.
Okay.
I meant me.
Watch it. That's all right, guys. We're back.
Yeah, we're back.
Doctors Warren here, and we're so excited. You know what's really crazy is this past week we had multiple people in different situations and locations that were like, we listened to your radio show for years and asking us when we're going to start up again, and here we are.
Here we are. Yeah, and I mean, you were even talking about man, do you remember, during our radio show, some of the things that we would say and even during COVID, the stuff we would talk about and man, if you thought we could talk about it on the radio, you better get ready because this is podcasting, so.
No, seriously. We were reminiscing about COVID and how we felt a responsibility to speak the truth, but
Yeah. Oh yeah.
If you were around for our COVID radio show, you guys know. But we're so excited to bring this back, and this first episode is going to be fantastic. We touched on this topic in the office, and we had multiple people that were like, man, I really want to share this information. I want to listen to it again. So that's what we're doing for today's episode.
Yeah. I really want to talk about nutrition, but from a different perspective, right? Because in today's world, social media, influencers, all these different arenas, it's hey, you got to do it this way. This is the best way. This is the number one way. Oh, if you want to lose weight, you can only do it this way. It's overwhelming.
Yeah.
And it's confusing, right? For most people. So what I find, because again, these people are they're in the social media world, they're in the online world. They're not in clinical practice, right? They don't see a patient face to face. I do, and I have for 11, 12 years now, something like that. And so what I find is that they will listen to all that, and then it's like a deer in the headlights.
Yeah.
It's like
absolutely.
Paralysis by analysis, right?
Well, I always share that when I went through my thyroid cancer, my thyroidectomy 20 years ago, it was a desert of information. I could not, it was so hard to find information, and I had to search for it, which is why it pisses me off that some of these medical doctors say, don't confuse your Google search with my medical degree.
Dr.
When it's
Google.
Listen, my life was saved because I did that.
Yeah.
But it's the complete opposite these days. And you guys probably feel this way. If it was a desert 20 years ago, it is a fire hydrant of information. You can go online and you can find why to eat a certain way, why not to eat a certain way.
Yeah.
And it can be absolutely overwhelming. And I see that all the time, deer in headlights.
Yeah. And it'll feed your bias. And, if you go into it saying I hate meat eaters, right? Well, guess what? You're going to find all these articles on why you should never eat meat, and it's going to kill you, and it's the worst thing ever. It's going to destroy the planet, all this stuff. And you can do the opposite side of it, right?
Yeah.
And so it is. It's confusing. And I think it's what's wild is, what I really want to touch on today is some of the commonalities that we should look for, right? With nutrition, there are certain principal foundations that need to be met no matter what type of diet that you do, right?
Absolutely.
And I think that's where we start to like kind of like zero in and kind of target focus on what we need to be doing, like from not only our nutrition, but also like from a patient's perspective, from somebody who's new that's just now like starting to try to eat healthy. I think that when you get to zero it down and see like, oh wait, whether I'm a vegan diet or a carnivore diet or high protein, low protein, paleo, keto, banana diet, I don't know, what like whatever's out there, like there's certain things that have to be focused on. And if they don't meet those criteria, then it's probably not good for the human body.
Absolutely. And there's a quote, I am bad with remembering details, but there's a quote I remember seeing in school when we were getting our doctor of chiropractic, and it had something to do with principles. And when you have a principles, you stand firm and you don't move with the waves. And that's one thing you've got to remember in this day and age of information overload is you've got to understand, what do we know about the truth and the principles about the body, about
Yeah.
how God created it to heal and to adapt and what it needs. And if you are firm in that foundation, then every new information that comes out there, you can look at it through those lenses, right? Like it's my favorite thing in the world because it's just insanity is that the Time magazine cover where they were saying a whole cover decades ago about how butter is bad for you. And then like in the 10 years ago, 15 years ago or something like that, they did another Times cover where it was like, oh, actually butter is good for you. Well, listen, if you see something where someone's telling you that margarine that's like one molecule away from plastic is going to be better than butter that comes from an animal that God created, that comes from an animal that's out in nature, that, hundreds and years of ancestral living has utilized, like animal protein, animal sources, and you've got to decide, should I do the thing that's made in a lab or should I do something that comes from outside and is an animal? You can go, well, what do I know as a truth? I'm not going to get swayed by that.
Yeah.
And so that's just, so true.
Yeah. I mean, no offense to anybody, but science is never going to be God. Like, there's a lot of
Dogma right now.
egotistical weirdos out there that think that science is going to outdo God. And it's like, we've learned over and over and over again that nature wins. Mm-hmm. Like the things that God created wins. Oh yeah, he created science. Like you're not going to create a cell from nothing.
Yeah.
Right. But God did. Right.
Yeah.
Like you're not going to make food better than what was already made.
Absolutely.
So one of the areas I want to start off with, because I think this is vitally important. Okay. Mm-hmm. Let's just establish that research when it comes to diets is a load of crap. Okay.
Yeah.
They're always gonna be too, just so you know. They're gonna be the weakest studies. They're gonna be more epidemiological studies. They're going to end up looking at relative risk as opposed to absolute risk. They're mostly done on food index surveys, right? Mm-hmm. Where they take, individuals and they say, hey, fill out a survey on what you ate last month. Okay. I don't know about you, but like 3 kids, multiple businesses, all the stuff going on in life. I don't even remember what I ate this morning or yesterday, right? Like that's hard to do. So I think we need to establish that dietary research, for the most part, 95% of it is a bunch of crap, right? Let me give you an example, right? One of the more recent studies that was put out by Harvard, probably a couple years ago, and it was talking about how, basically a teaspoon of butter will shorten your life, right? When they did that study, listen to this. Yeah. It was done on the food index surveys, and they divided people up level 1, level 2, level 3, level 4, right? Level 4 being they consume the most butter, right? Mm-hmm. Well, what they said, hold on. This is what's crazy. And then level 1 was the least amount of butter consumed, right? So when they defined butter, it was butter or margarine-like butter. So here we go. Here's a study trying to prove that vegetable oils and seed oils are safer than butter, but yet the butter group could have butter or butter like margarine. Okay, so first of all, how dumb is that? And we're talking about Harvard, right? Like, we consider them smart human beings. Okay, so that's one problem with this study. Number two is both level 1, level 2, and level 3 had no change in mortality rate, right? And level 3, just so you know, is consuming I think it was 7 to 9 grams or whatever of butter. Level 4 was consuming 12 to 15. Okay. Mm-hmm. So what they said is they took, 15 minus 9 and they said, 5 or 6 grams of butter, will shorten your lifespan. And it was by the teensiest amount, right? But you see how you can manipulate the science there. Yeah. Even though level 3 was still consuming a decent amount, and who knows if it was butter or vegetable oil and a bunch of crap, they took that and said, butter will shorten your life.
And then,
come on.
And then you go on Facebook and someone reposts this, what is it, a Yahoo or article that's a teaspoon of butter is going to kill you. And then this little article gets pushed all around, and no one's really looking at that study.
They don't
deeper.
Look at it, right? Yeah. They just look at the headlines. And so it's just an example of, that's why I tell my patients that when it comes to diet, there are things far more important than research for diet, right? I'm all about research. I think that's a great thing. I think it's amazing, but especially with diet, one, what did our ancestors do? Ancestral wisdom from a dietary perspective is one of the strongest things that we have, right? What have human beings always eaten, or that we assume they ate based on what we can read about, based on what we know, based on what's passed down? What has kept human beings alive, right, for thousands, if not, tens of thousands, however long we've been on this planet, right? So ancestral wisdom. Number two, logic and common sense have to play a role in this, right? Is Doritos with 85 ingredients, half of them that we can't even pronounce, is that better for the human body than, Simple Mills crackers that has 8 ingredients in it and it's all from real food? Okay, we can use logic and common sense to tell us that, one, the body can recognize and break down. The other one, we don't know, right? And then number 3, is my clinical experience. What do I see? When a patient eats XYZ, what do I see on their lab work, right? Their blood work. What do I see on their stool tests? What do I see, here and here? Those are the things I measure it by. And actually, I would, for me personally too, I look at my faith as well, right? That's probably my number one filter. But those things are far more important than dietary research. Dietary research sucks. And then the other problem that I have with dietary research is their lone goal is to find out what's the optimal human diet.
I was going to say that. Yeah.
And you're never going to find that. You're never
going to find that. I remember I was listening to a medical doctor that reads a lot of research, and he's like, you can find a study to prove your way of eating, but there is no study that's going to prove this is we do have studies like Mediterranean diet and stuff like that. But for the most part, those diets are talking about eating clean, essentially, eating good, food the way you're supposed to. But one thing he said is, obviously outside of all of this processed food, you explained, he's in the end, what we do know, what we can see over and over again is that your body thrives off diversity. Yeah. Diversity of nutrients. Yeah. And some of you guys are not going to like to hear that because some of you guys are strict vegan, or some of you guys are strict keto and low carb because you lost weight and you're so scared to introduce carbs again. Yeah. Eat a carb. Yeah, one carb, right? But your body thrives off diversity. So a lot of you guys in this day and age, people want to fast. They want to do carnivore. They want to do vegan. They want to do plant-based. And it's well, no. As long as the foundation's right, like what you just explained, you have to be able to diversify those macros and have diversity in your ingredients, in your nutrients, or your body is not going to do well.
Yeah, and that's actually, I want to dive into the variation part of it. I want to close the loop here with the research thing, because with research, where I do pay attention to it, where you pay attention to it, is not studies on diet, but what does the research show about amino acids?
Yep.
What does research show about fatty
acids?
acids? What does research show about antioxidants? What does research show about vitamins and minerals? That is where we can find some really solid science, and we can start saying, okay, what do we need, right? What needs to be in the food that we consume? What does the human body need for appropriate methylation and detoxification, and, to regenerate tissue and to get rid of damaged cells and to repair DNA and mitochondria, right? That's what we need to be looking into. Not what's the ultimate optimal human diet, because you brought up the point of variation, right? And this is where I think this is kind of principle number one with the diet. Very few of us are meant to consume the exact same food all the time. Mm-hmm. Like, maybe ancestrally speaking, there might have been a couple cultures that were forced into eating almost the same thing all the time, right? Like, we could argue, Alaska, Canada, Northern Europe, where there was only like certain foods available that they could consume that was almost like year round, right? Like, okay, maybe a couple cultures like that. But most of ancestral cultures would consume the food that was, one, in season, right?
Yep.
Like, number two, what they were able to hunt and fish for, meaning what was available during those seasons and during that time. And then what they were able to gather, right? Again, based on season and changes.
So there isn't like, if it was like winter and all they had was meat, they're not going to be like, oh, I can't eat meat because I am low meat because it's not good for me. Or if it's summer and you have an abundance of these rich fruits that are great for summer and protection and all this, you're not going to be like, oh, I can't eat this because of meat. Like, there's a diversity. Although I will say this in regards to diversity, the reason though, I always want to give this disclaimer, because I have this conversation with a lot of the women like that I work with, is the problem though, going back to this diversity, the problem is there is a lack of diversity in our modern diet.
Big time.
And for decades, there's been the foundation of our modern diet has been very carb, glucose, sugar focused.
Yeah.
And so when we do work with clients and getting them higher protein, higher fat, we are not saying like, oh, all the time, the highest amount of protein, the highest amount of fat is what you need to be doing. What we're trying to do is introduce a diversity that you have been lacking for most of your life.
Exactly. Yeah. And that's why, 90+% of the patients that we start working with, that's usually where we start, right?
Yeah.
Like, so, when we talk about doing a really good paleo keto diet, it's because why? Like, most people that we see coming in, even some of the ones that are like, no, I'm pretty low carb, and then you have them track their macros, and you're like, dude, you're consuming like 350 grams plus of carbohydrate.
And then you're wondering why there's some inflammation there. You're wondering why your fasting insulin is kind of rising. And again, in this day and age, like growing up, right? Growing up, it was childhood diabetes or adult onset diabetes. That's what it was. No longer.
Yeah.
Anyone can get a blood sugar issue. You can have metabolic syndrome. You can have PCOS, which has that metabolic component. You can have type 1 diabetes. You can have type 2 diabetes. You can have type 1.5, which is the autoimmune and blood sugar issue. You can have type 3, which is Alzheimer's and dementia. We're at a point right now where we need to realize that anyone can have it. Seed oils, inflammation, and an abundance of carbs that your body is not burning and utilizing. You can, and I always hear it all the time. They go to their doctor, they get their blood work done, everything's fine. Get blood work done. And then all of a sudden, one blood work, their A1C is pre-diabetic and they're shocked. Well, it's like, well, first of all, your doctor wasn't even doing the proper testing to keep an eye on things. But you had the signs that you were creating a problem. Your doctor just missed it.
Yeah.
and here you are pre-diabetic.
Yeah. And a lot of the advice that still floats around, and even if they're not being told it, is almost like embedded into our society, is this whole idea of like calories in, calories out, right?
Oh
Like
my
I see it
gosh.
big time in the exercise world.
Yes.
Still, like they're like, oh, it doesn't
Yes.
matter what you eat as long as you're
Yes.
getting this amount of like
Yeah.
macros and this amount of calories, like the rest of it you're gonna work out and like do
Yeah.
like and okay, maybe yes, if all you're looking at is outside appearance and like body fat percentage and like what does your muscle look like on the outside, but not at a cellular level, right? Like, I remember when I was 20, or actually I guess I would have been like my freshman year going to play Division I soccer. I come in there, I probably weighed 120-ish, pounds
So if you
going
guys
in.
don't know, you are a bit on the shorter side, so they have to know that.
Yeah,
So
yeah. Like,
that's
yeah,
a lot for you.
like 5'4",
Yeah.
even though on my license, I think, and on our roster, it said like
And
5'6",
and to me when we first started dating.
Yeah. I remember you looked at my license, you're like, 5'6"?
I knew it. I
like
knew I was-
5'6"? Like, dude, you're not 5'6". But that's what we put on my roster. That's like what, all this stuff. But maybe with like super tall cleats, maybe 5'6". But, so yeah, so 5'4", about 120 pounds going into, my freshman year. And one of the things that the weightlifting coaches and like, my coach and everybody wanted to do is obviously they wanted to pack on weight and muscle, right? Like make you bigger. So I remember going on that journey, right? What'd that journey look like? Midnight, stopped through at Wendy's, 2 Frosties, 20 chicken nuggets.
Didn't you do
like
donuts and chocolate milk
donuts,
before?
chocolate milk,
Ugh.
like, dude, all these things just loading my body with all these calories, right? And guess what? I'm 18 years old. I'm working out all the time. So what did I do? I put on muscle, right? And I got bigger. I think it was probably the biggest I've ever been in my life as far as like muscle. I was like 145. Like, think about this, right? But then I look back and I think, holy crap, I was having headaches all the time, eczema, skin issues. Like, I felt like crap internally, digestive components going on there. And the other thing I think about, like, when I look back on it, my sophomore year, I broke my foot, right? My 5th metatarsal, which is a killer injury for not only for soccer, just athletics in general. And I look back on it, I still remember the game it happened. It was against Vanderbilt. I had a kid, I was dribbling around. All he did was step on my foot. That's it, right?
Yeah, your
so
body-
think about this for a second. Just stepping on my foot. And I think I look back and I wonder the way I did it to put on muscle and to gain weight. I wonder, one, did I have too much weight on my body that like my skeletal system said, you know what, this isn't normal for you to have? And I wonder how much that affected like the density of the bones, how easy it was able to break. I think about how long it took me to recover from that injury. And then, I think about all these things and I'm like, why? It's because I did it the wrong way.
Yeah.
Right? Like I did it the wrong way. So this whole idea of like calories in, calories out, like this is part of the reason you see athletes like college football players, they're eating 1 million calories and then, they hit their 30s and now they're obese and they're way overweight.
Or how about-
you don't have your growth hormone and testosterone and those hormones that you had in abundance at 18, 19 years old. Oh, and by the way, you're also not like doing 3-a-days and working out like that long and that hard. So those factors, if you look at calories in, calories out, you are missing
Absolutely.
health and wellness. You are focused on how I look and how I feel. You're forgetting about how do I function, how do I adapt, which is what health is, right?
Yeah.
Health is not a lack of pain or disease. Health is how when that pain or disease comes, because it's life, how fast do you adapt to that? How well do
Absolutely.
you adapt back to normal?
Yeah.
So we have got to crush this calories in, calories out
And when
conversation.
you know, the thing that ticks me off too is that when we just look at it as calories in, calories out, we forget that our food has energy.
Yeah.
We, at a molecular level, there's energy there. There's movement. It's information. It's data. The protein, the amino acids that you consume are DNA building blocks, are the ability, your tissue, your muscle, your cells. So this idea of like, just get those calories in. Or if you want, and this is my biggest thing, is like there's a lot of people that are skinny. They can lose weight because they're caloric restriction with issues, with hormones. And I see it with women all the time because I have women that when they hit menopause, they're like, whoa, what is going on? And because we've normalized, just because it's common, we've normalized menopause as a disease process, but you've been caloric restrictive, undernourished, and stressed out. I have a lot of women that are like muscle, like they worked out, they ran. And again, when they go into menopause, they crash and burn. Why? Because that was stressful for the body at a cellular level. Your body was not adapting. It was not doing well. It's affecting your hormones because food is energy.
Yeah.
And then when you go into menopause, most women don't realize you don't go from making sex hormones in your ovaries and then not making it. You shift.
Yeah.
You go from making it in your ovaries and fat cells to primarily your adrenals and fat cells. But the big thing is those adrenals.
Yeah.
So you've stressed out your body for decades, and now when this adrenal needs to be well and adaptable, it's not. And so you go to your doctor tells you this is menopause, you go to your girlfriend, you go to your sister, you go to your mom's, and they're like, oh yeah, menopause sucks. So you're like, okay, so this must be menopause. No, you've been just drained for years and decades, and so has your mom, and so has your sister, and so has your friend, and our medical system sucks, so everyone's struggling with it. So they've like convinced you to believe that this is normal.
Yeah,
so
when abnormal becomes normal, right?
That's what
when
I see. Everything,
normal.
it's just, it's insanity. But it obviously, you don't want to overeat calories because if you're not moving, you're eating too much. Obviously, if you're not burning it up. But the idea is that those the quality, the type, what do you want your body to be made of? How do you want your body to be influenced? That matters.
Yeah. And I'm gonna touch on this too because I think this is important. That goes along with what you're saying. Both in the super ultra healthy world and the calories in, calories out world, right? Two ends of the spectrum. They're both focused on the wrong thing. You ready for this? Mm-hmm. Because in the super healthy world, they say superfoods and like, all this stuff, right? But guess where their focus still is? Their focus is in how amazing the food is, okay? And on the other side of it, they're like, it doesn't matter how crappy the food is. It's calories in, calories out. The focus is still on the food. Mm-hmm. It's not on the terrain that the food goes into. Let me give you an example. If you just stare at an apple, is that apple going to do anything for you?
No.
No. But when you eat that apple, is the magic in the apple? Or is it in how your body takes that apple, assimilates it, puts it in the cell, creates new healthy tissue? No, it's the terrain. It's the body. It's the focus on what the human body does that is so amazing, even far beyond what we fully understand, that can take that apple and turn it into living tissue. The focus needs to stop being on the food and on the terrain. Therefore, if your focus is on the terrain, then all you want to do is put and do things to the human body that are going to help increase the adaptability, the strength, the functionality of the terrain, of the human body.
And I love that. And this is my little thing, my little bone to pick too about kind of going off of that. So my issue, food is medicine, right? My issue with that statement is how people can take that statement and like, I find a lot of people like they take that statement and what do we look for in medicine? We look for medicine to heal us, right? Like we look for medicine to fix us.
Yeah.
And the problem I have with that, just with that statement and how it's been bastardized, I get it. I understand though, because like food can help your body heal, right?
Yeah.
That's what you need to understand. It can help your body heal. But why? Because we were created. The healing doesn't happen. The healing isn't in the apple.
Right.
The healing isn't in the apple. The healing is in your innate. It's your body. It's what your body does. It's that you have cellular apoptosis, that your body wants to kill off damaged cells, that there's a chance for autophagy, there's a chance for rebuilding and mTOR. So for me, when you put all of this idea of like, well, food is medicine, so this food is going to heal me. No. Your body's created to heal, and that's why I love fasting.
Yeah, exactly.
That's why I
because
love fasting.
It trumps that whole
It's not
thought,
food.
right? It's not food.
It's
Because
not
even when
food.
you fast, the body does what?
Take away
It
all the
heals.
supplements. Yeah, take away all the food.
Yeah.
Your body innately wants to heal. It's created to heal. Now, this is where food comes into play. It's not necessarily that food is medicine, but food is foundational. It's like saying like your body needs these building blocks. Your body needs this. And so when you take that away, of course there's going to be dysfunction. Of course there's going to be dysregulation. It's foundational. Nourishing your body with the right nutrients is foundational. When you give your body this, then your body can do what it's created to do. And I say this, and the reason why I say this is because, again, in this day and age where people are doing keto and low carb or even vegan, they are very stuck on, well, because I got rid of meat or because I got rid of carbs, that's why I healed. That's why I lost weight. And it's like, no. Take a step back. It's because you diversified your macros. You ate in a way that you haven't eaten. Most of you guys that are doing keto and low carb have gotten rid of a lot of processed foods, a lot of high carb foods. Like in the end, your body was able to take that diversity of macros and do something with it, do what it was created to do, and it's to adapt and to heal. And that's why I find that a lot of people get really scared to diversify their diets and to change up their macros because they think, well, no, it's because I went low carb. That's what healed me. No, your body was created to heal. Get rid of it. Get rid of all food. Get rid of all supplements, and you'll see what your body's created to do.
Yeah.
But I will give this disclaimer. If you are not able to adapt your diet, there could be food sensitivities.
Yeah.
There could be leaky gut. There could be small intestinal bowel overgrowth. There could be things that when you try to diversify your diet, like I remember years and years ago, I was working with a woman that was like looking for help on healing her thyroid. And it was wild because she was doing keto and she was doing low carb, and I wanted her, she was doing it chronically. Her body was showing signs that it's time to diversify. Your body will let you know.
Yeah.
A lot of you guys might be a little bit stubborn. Your body will let you know that it's time to diversify your macros. Her skin, her hair was thinning out, her skin was drying out. And I was like, hey, listen, it's time to introduce carbs. She tried it on her own, felt like her belly was bloating, so she went carnivore. And I had to stop her, and she was being very restrictive. And I was like, no. Let's look at your gut. Her gut, she had bacterial overgrowth. That's why she was fermenting these carbs. She was getting bloated, and we had to work on her gut so she could, reintroduce that. So it's not the food. The food is essential.
Yeah.
It's like saying you can live without water, clean water. Like that's nuts. No, your body needs clean water to do. Is the clean water healing you? Is it fixing you? No, but it's essential.
Yeah.
So is that with your nutrients.
Yeah. And I love that you said that because there are influences on dietary choice, right? And this is where like our clinical, expertise and seeing patients, thousands of them over the last decade, starts to come into play, right? So here's some examples of influences on dietary choice. Like one, genetics. Genetics can play a role in it, right? We're in a whole world now where we can look at nutrigenomics and we can start to see like, oh, this person has methylation issues or this person has that. We know that, hey, there might be a better, more optimal way to, help support those processes based on genetics. Another one is ancestry, right? Like, we look at you're Dominican, Puerto Rican. So we know that the way you respond to certain types of food is different than me, who may be more Native American, Northern European, right? Like a different mixture of that. So for me, I always make the joke, I'm like this one big, beautiful, like human mutt, right? These different influences. But that can play a role too. If you take somebody who, they're like literally coming from Central America, and that's like kind of their bloodline and their genetics and all this stuff. And then you say, I'm going to take away, good quality corn or good quality rice or quality, like That sounds insane, right?
Yeah.
Your ancestors ate that for the last like 3,000 years, and you think like, oh, that's going to be bad for you? Like,
That reminds me of Dr. Jason Fung, medical doctor and nephrologist.
yeah,
He was preaching about fasting and low carb for diabetics. Like he was ostracized when he first started
Yeah, oh,
talking
yeah.
about this. Now he's huge. He's everywhere now. But I loved it because he's Chinese. And at a seminar that we were at together, he was like, how insane is it to say like rice is so bad for everyone when like, I mean, there's a whole continent, like all these countries,
Yeah.
not even just China. Like,
it's like a staple.
Yes.
It's like, I mean, they probably like that part of the world would have died off had it not been for that,
Yeah.
right?
and that just reminds me too of like and you might feel better. Remember, diversity, it comes down to diversity,
Yeah.
right? But you also might feel better eating a certain way over time. But it always makes me laugh because, like in chiropractic school, Dr. Nathan and I would do a lot of like experimenting, trying all these biohacks, all this way of eating. And I do fine on more of a plant-based. It takes a lot of work,
Yeah.
a lot of work to hit your amino acids,
yeah.
essential amino acid count for the day. It takes a lot of work to be plant-based. Is it possible? Yes. There's people like Rich Roll who
Yeah.
has unlimited resources, but he can make
But
that
if you
happen,
do it,
right?
yeah, if you want to do it right, that
You
guy's
know,
always done
he's
it right.
great, yeah. But I'll never forget, like I was trying to get you to do it, right? Like we were doing it together, and you were awful.
Felt
You were
terrible.
miserable, bad mood, angry. I mean, it's still like traumatic to me to think about that. That was like decade and plus ago because you did not do well. You feel better when you're mostly like carnivore.
Yeah.
You do fantastic. You have energy. And so there can be where you understand. I have a client of mine that was like, oh man, I feel better when I do have higher carbs and stuff like that. And so we worked with ways, and she was like, well, I'm Scandinavian. I was looking into how that eats and like how, my family ate. And so we still do lower carb. We still do fasting. We do get into ketosis. But then for her, we do spend that time where she feels better, especially around her hormones, to do higher carb. You got to allow that individuality to exist.
Yeah, and I mean, even other variables, you mentioned gut condition.
Yeah.
Because in today's world, there's really probably very few human beings on earth that their guts aren't consistently getting hit with some type of variable there. Age, food availability, at the very lowest clinical research, and then maybe should be towards the top, N equals 1. How do you feel, right?
Yes.
When you do it, like, go ahead.
I want to touch on that.
Yeah.
N equals 1, because this is so frustrating for me living without a thyroid. And I heard a doctor say that one time. He's like, I love research. I love utilizing it, especially if it's good research to give us some good data. He's like, but in the end, I want my clients and my patients to live in such a way that they want to do research on them.
Yeah.
That they're doing things where people are like, why is this happening? N equals 1, you matter.
Yeah.
So maybe your doctor's like, oh, that might not work, whatever, but eating a certain way, like reversing disease, like don't ever let someone tell you that it's not possible. My favorite kind of personal experience with this is on my podcast, The Thyroidless Life, I interviewed Dr. Bianca, who's done 35 years of research. He was a former president of American Thyroid Association, but I'll never forget, and I'm thankful that he was open to hear this. Like he was set on his way, in his way that T4 only medication was it.
Yeah.
Like that, like the studies show it, the American Thyroid Association, the International Thyroid Association proves it. But you know what changed his mind?
What?
His patients.
Yeah.
His patients coming in and saying, no, this is not working. I get it. You have all the research. You do all the research. This isn't working for me. I feel better utilizing T3. And patients speaking up and them being the N equals them saying, no, I don't feel well. I'm doing it the right way. There's something more. There's something different. And because he had enough of his patients telling him this, he opened his mind to the fact that, oh, there's millions of people that are suffering with this. You matter.
Yeah.
N equals 1. You don't need the studies to prove it. I don't need the studies to prove to me that my TSH is going to be really suppressed because I don't have a thyroid, but that's where I feel best.
Yeah.
Like, N equals 1.
Yeah. And there's no human being on the planet that has your exact genetic makeup, background of lifestyle, traumas that you've been through, micro and macro. Like, you are an individual, right?
Absolutely, yeah.
And that's why, like, again, I will always stand. There is no such thing as one optimal human diet for every human being on this planet. It is literally based on everything that we just told you that could influence it. It is impossible, right, to find and make that statement, right? Yeah. But there are common grounds, right? And I think this is where we can start to get into the commonalities that kind of should be involved in any human diet, right? So one, minimal processing, right? Like, minimal processing. And I think we have to define the difference, in which, pretty cool, RFK Jr. they're about to do this, define the difference between processed and ultra processed, right? Which is what I love. And actually, when I was doing this talk the other night, like, I gave the example of, like, okay, so, and I don't know why I'm picking on Doritos. It was just the easiest one to think about. Like, I mean, there's probably great people that
Which,
work
by
for
the
them,
way,
right?
Siete makes chips that taste, it's like the nacho
It's almost
season,
identical,
taco
right?
seasoning, and there's like a street corn one. I swear it tastes
So
like Doritos.
good,
Y'all need to try it.
Yeah,
Anyways.
but even that, okay, so let's use that as an example, right? We got Doritos, we got Siete's, like, you know, their taco one. Okay, so we put those side by side, and we say technically these are both processed, right? Like, I mean, they made in a plant, like, all this stuff. But then we go and we look at the ingredients, we look at the company, we look at how it's made. You know, Siete, they've got their avocado oil that they make it in. They're using seasonings like garlic powder, paprika, you know, cumin. A lot of their ingredients are organic, like sea salt, right? And then we go over here and it's like artificial flavoring, artificial, you know, coloring, and 10,000 other ingredients to go with it. So we define those both as processed. And when we look at the FDA, the USDA, all these organizations, they look at those as the same thing, right? So when you read studies about we shouldn't eat processed food, okay, that's a very broad statement, when in reality there should be a difference between processed but made out of real food and ultra processed. This is like crap, right? Yeah. Like, this is fake, this is real. So when we're looking at common ground, whether you're vegan or carnivore, or you are, you know, or you are high protein, low protein, we should be doing minimally processed. So with that, with minimal processing, right, knowing the difference between real food, not real food, right? Another common ground that I find is nutrient dense. So again, whether we're, and I use the examples of vegan and carnivore because they're complete opposites, right? But it still should be nutrient dense. So when I have somebody that comes in, especially here in local Chattanooga area, you know, there's a subsect of people that are religiously vegan, right?
Yeah.
And then I have to discuss with them, okay, so if you are going to do this, because my job is not, I'm not going to sit there and change their religious beliefs that have been in their families for however many decades, right? Like, that's not my job. And you know, it's going to make them unhappy. It's going to make them like, I'm not trying to do that, right?
I will say you have been historically really good. You have been able to find out how to optimize like every diet, like what these foundations, like what you're teaching on, you've always been really good at that.
So if they come in, I'm like, okay, so let's assess what you're doing right now. Okay, I'm a vegan, but I'm also eating Oreos, even though it's crap food, but it's considered vegan, right? No. We should still be shooting for nutrient density. How many vitamins and minerals are in the food that you're consuming? How many amino acids are you getting in there? And when we say that, like, especially essential amino acids, complete proteins, you know, and looking at that perspective. What's the fatty acid profile look like? How many antioxidants are we getting in, right? So nutrient density. And it's the same exact way if I'm dealing with somebody who's a carnivore, right? And that's part of the reason, like when I've done a carnivore diet with a patient, we are doing nose to tail. We are literally trying to hit all aspects of the animal. We're doing bone broths, and we're doing, meat stocks, and they're doing things like organs, and they're doing, this whole nutrient density. They're varying the type of both meat and fish and wild caught seafood and eggs, and we're getting, and in some cases, like some really good quality, dairy components. Like we are adding that diversity and that variation into it, and that way we're getting a nutrient dense profile of what we are putting in the human body. The third common ground is variation, right? I kind of touched on that just a second ago. Whether you take a ancestral culture who was mostly plant-based or a culture who was mostly animal-based, there's still variation built into it. And variation could be of the food, but also variation could be of the timing of the food and the fasting, right? Like, it's still, whether somebody was a more plant-based culture or a more animal-based culture, there were times you didn't find anything to eat.
Yep.
There were times you didn't get a kill on your hunt, or you didn't catch anything when you fish. Therefore, you have to have some times of fasting built into it. So variation becomes important. Next one is no genetically modified organisms, right?
Yeah.
Like, what the heck? Like, just no. Okay, like, and even if you believe in those, like, that you're like, you know what, they're trying to save humanity, this is a good thing. Even with that, there is not enough data to show that that is safe for human consumption, right? Like, if in 100 years from now, like, we discover that, like, people that ate all GMOs, like, lived long, oh, okay, whatever. But there's not enough data for that. Like, so even if you're in that world, don't eat it. But in the reality of it, like, those things are not good for the human body, right? Like, when you alter the genetics to be able to withstand different insecticides and fungicides and herbicides, I'll tell you right now, if you genetically modify that to allow it to have poison on it, it is not good for the human body, period, right? Just not. So stay away from that. Variations in prep techniques, whether we're carnivore, whether we're plant-based, our ancestors used different prep techniques, from heat to pressure to natural preservation to, soaking, sprouting, fermentation, cooking or raw.
Yeah.
There should be a mixture of those things no matter what diet you're using. Like, if somebody's carnivore, hey, sometimes using an Instapot that uses heat and uses pressure to, like, really get some of those nutrients out of the bones or the meat stock, cool. Like, that's a great way to do it. But then also understanding, like, I've even had patients, like, where if they're eating oysters, hey, we're going raw here, right? Like, we're getting all that zinc and all those amazing things there. Same thing plant-based. Should we be eating completely raw all the time? Probably not. And based on what we now know about certain types of plants, that when you heat it, actually gets rid of some of the anti-nutrients and some of the plant toxins, and then it allows other nutrients to actually come out, and you're allowed to get those and absorb those in the human body. We should be using variations in prep techniques and cooking techniques. Common ground, no seed oils, okay? Just no seed oils. Like, they're not meant for human consumption. I don't care what side of the fence you're on. I'm telling you, if you're on that side of the fence, you're wrong. We should not be consuming seed oils. Those things are crap. They're oxidized. They use chemicals to create these things. I do not need 30 more years of billions of dollars of science to tell me not to consume something that is not fit for human consumption. It's not good. The last one, maybe besides like raw honey and fruit and things like that, we should be keeping our glycemic load low, right? Like, we know, longevity speaking, if we are constantly spiking our glucose and our insulin, it will decrease our lifespan. So those are the common ground I find.
Now, so this is the foundation.
Yeah.
Before we're going to go into part 2. How does this look like implemented? How does it look like when we practice this and making the decisions, what to eat, how to eat. We know a lot of you guys are like, just tell us what to do. But we have to establish the foundation first. And this is that foundation. Get the principles right, get the understanding right. And in the second part of the series, we're going to go into the how to. You definitely don't want to miss it. So make sure, now that we're back, subscribe, because once you subscribe to the podcast, you'll get alerted when the new episode drops. Also, leave us a review, 5 stars if you've enjoyed this. Leave us a comment. We always love to see where you guys are listening from, how this information is helping you. And by leaving us a review, it helps us reach more people with this message. But guys, we're going to see in the second part of this episode, all things nutrition. If you enjoyed the Doctors Warren podcast, make sure to subscribe. That way you get immediate access when a new episode is published. And if this episode has been helpful to you, please leave us a 5-star review. Let us know where you're listening from, how this has been helping you. And by leaving that review, you help us get our message out to more people.